I'm Dr. Antenucci. I started my career in dentistry in the Air Force, where I helped our military personnel get healthy and stay healthy. From there, I built a successful practice in Huntington, New York, and later as a teacher, lecturer, and author, I shared my knowledge and experience with students and fellow healthcare professionals. And now my journey's taken me here to explore the world of health, wellness, diet, fitness, and nutrition, as together we discover and find the good life. My normal routine has been so radically altered these past 2 months. Now normally, I divide my time between my dental practice in New York and my home with my family in New Orleans. Yeah, I'm one of those crazy people who commutes every week by plane. But since this crisis began, I've been separated by distance from my wife. Now my wife Karina, she's a great cook, so when I'm in New Orleans, I'm reduced to being a salad maker. But since I've been here night after night after night, I've put my own cooking skills to work as a master quarantine chef. I remember my grandfather in Italy telling me a story of an earthquake that hit right in the middle of dinner. He refused to leave the table and instead stayed there and drank his wine and ate his meal until it was finished. Eating and drinking is a ritual, and the ritual is important. I'm the same. This virus will not get in the way of me cooking and serving myself a great meal. Because it's the process, it's the enjoyment of food. And that's really what I want to share in this show. I want to celebrate healthy food from the point of view of some real masters. My first guest is celebrity chef Stephanie Harris-Uyidi. Stephanie has successfully lived a pescatarian lifestyle for over 20 years. She supplements her vegetarian diet with seafood several days a week. She's also known as the posh pescatarian. Stephanie, it's so great to have you with me on the show today. How are you managing during this crazy time in history?
Thanks for having me, Dr. Jean. This has been a really interesting social experience and or experiment, shall I say. And my husband and I are doing just fine. We're both healthy. We both have the benefit of working from home pretty successfully. And outside of there being sort of limited products in the market, I think I'm doing okay. Plus, I need an eyebrow wax and a few other things. But outside of that, I'm doing all right.
I know I've got my quarantine hairdo going on here too. I bet many people haven't heard the term pescatarian. So tell us what that means.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. A lot of people actually live a pescatarian lifestyle without really knowing what it is. I run into people all the time who ask me about what a pescatarian is, and I tell them it's a plant-based diet supplemented with seafood. And there's a healthier component to that, which is daily physical activity, which is my own take on the lifestyle. So plant-based diet, most of your plate is filled with vegetables and grains, and you've got a piece of fish on the side there to help give you a little more substantial meal.
Now, are fish like the swimming fish, or are they like shrimp and it's any kind of seafood?
It's any kind of seafood, and my focus is on sustainable seafood. So all the responsibly harvested fish, right? Nobody wants to be the person who eats the very last red snapper on planet. So we've got to sort of be mindful of what we're eating. But absolutely, shellfish and fish are some of the best food on the planet. And shellfish have a lot of protein. They're really responsibly harvested and affordable.
Yeah, and when you talk about sustainable, that adds another dimension to it because you're not only looking for seafood and fish that are tasty to you and that you like, but they're also fish that are properly harvested or grown or farmed or whatever method that comes from, right?
That's right. So there are some wild fish. Wild does always taste better because wild fish are eating what wild fish eat. But our wild fish sources are depleted. So you have fish farms and or cultivation. You've got seafood cultivation is a softer word for that. And there are some folks who harvest seafood more responsibly than others. So you always want to look for things like the Marine Stewardship Council label. You want to see something on the package or the label or the little tag at the grocery store that indicates where the fish is from and how it was harvested.
So tell me, what foods did you grow up with and what led you to this lifestyle?
Yeah, so I grew up with the traditional American diet. Turkey at Thanksgiving. Every day we had something interesting, but my mom was really experimental. So she introduced things like Chinese food to us. We ate a lot of Mexican food. I'm from California, and Mexican food here is soul food to us. So I grew up eating a pretty traditional American diet with some ethnic things thrown in there. I grew up in Northern California and Central California, and those places are teeming with interesting people from all over the planet. I was working in Los Angeles and I was having some health issues. I was having some trouble with digestion. And so I went to a naturopath and I was put on a pretty much a broth diet. Took everything out of my diet with the exception of some veggies and broth. And we slowly started reintroducing things back into my diet. And by the time it was over, we discovered that the pescatarian lifestyle was really something that I could handle and something that I enjoyed.
Stephanie, we have to take a quick break. Can you stay with us?
Sure. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll be right back.
Over 70 years of experience in heart and aviation, the members of the Association of Flight Attendants know the realities of the aircraft cabin better than anyone. We don't just serve drinks, we save lives. We don't just negotiate contracts, we move major policy issues like the smoking ban, no knives on planes, clean water, and safe food on board. The air we breathe matters, and we stop the spraying of poisonous pesticides. The Association of Flight Attendants, stronger together, better together.
What are the identifiable health benefits for eating seafood?
Yeah, so some of the identifiable benefits are related to the Mediterranean diet. So you've got lean fish, low in fat, high in omega-3 fatty acids, really easily digestible protein. So you often find that, eating a piece of chicken and eating a piece of fish, you will respond differently just physically.
What's your very favorite seafood and how do you prepare it?
Oh gosh, my very favorite seafood depends on where I am in the world. I travel a lot with my show, so it depends. When I was in Portugal, I was eating salt cod actually quite a lot in addition to a lot of shrimp. And octopus are some of my favorites. But in general, one of my favorite cooking techniques for seafood is on papillote. So fish in parchment paper. It's easy to prepare, easy cleanup, and really, really delicious.
Thank you so much for being on the show. You've given me some great ideas for meals and a lot to think about regarding diet and health. I hope you stay safe and be healthy during this entire time.
Thank you. I hope the same for you.
We'll be back with more Finding the Good Life in 60 seconds. Welcome back. Restaurants everywhere have had to scramble to reinvent themselves, not only regarding changing for the future, but also regarding how they're going to conduct business today while city and state shutdown restrictions are in place. One of the cities in the US hardest hit by the coronavirus is New Orleans, the home of one of my favorite restaurants, Saba. It's the creation of Chef Alon Shaya. He's an award-winning chef, author of the book Shaya, An Odyssey of Food, My Journey Back to Israel, and that restaurant makes some of the best food I have ever eaten. Chef Alon, I'm so excited to have you here on the show with me today during these unbelievable times.
Thank you, Doc.
I'd love you to tell me about your journey from Israel to Philadelphia to Italy and now to New Orleans.
Yeah, I'll give you the short version, so we're not on here for
Okay.
a couple of hours. But I was born in Israel. My father immigrated from Romania to Israel, and my mother was born in Israel. And I was born in Bat Yam. When I was 2 years old, my father immigrated to Philadelphia and got a job and started saving enough money to afford to bring my sister and my mother and I out. So at the age of 4, the rest of us came to Philly, immigrated to Philadelphia, and I grew up there. Went to culinary school in upstate New York and moved to Las Vegas for a couple of years and St. Louis for a couple of years. Finally ended up in New Orleans in 2003. And as you know, 2005, Hurricane Katrina came and just destroyed the city. And at that time, I had a lot of kind of soul searching and reflection on my career and where I wanted it to go. And I realized that moving to Italy to learn how to cook like an Italian grandmother was the thing I should do. So I got on a plane, went to Italy, apprenticed out there, worked in restaurants and during meats in Parma, making things like culatello and salamis, and then came back to New Orleans, opened a couple of Italian restaurants, and then eventually started going back to my roots of Israeli cooking, the food that I grew up eating, that my mother and my grandmother cooked. And I decided to really start focusing on those roots and that Israeli heritage that I have through my cooking, and opened up Saba in New Orleans.
I love so much about the food in your restaurants is the marriage of all the different tastes, because I can taste all the places you've been to. And even your cocktails are amazing. They're unique and they're refreshing. And it's if each dish and cocktail is it's like a celebration of food as a part of the joy in life. So how do you think this applies today? This whole philosophy that I could see that you have and that you brought to your restaurant.
Yeah, well, the way that food makes you feel, it could be a lot of different things going on in your life. It could be surrounded around happiness. It may be surrounded by sadness. It may be surrounded by some type of disaster or one of the most miraculous things that's ever happened to you. And food plays such an important role in every one of those situations. I think the feeling that you feel of happiness and nourishment after eating the food and drinking the cocktails, that can still happen. The food still tastes good, I hope. The cocktails still taste good, I hope. And when they're delivered to your house, or you pick them up from the parking lot and behind the restaurant at Saba or at Safta, you still feel that nourishment. It may bring back really great memories. It may make you feel like things are getting back to normal a little bit.
I'm excited. You're going to show us some of your cuisine right now?
Sure. Yeah, I'll show you something I've been working on this morning, but I will say that this is not a recipe that you would see at Saba or at Safta, but something that I love to cook at home. And I think that at home, I love cooking Cajun and Creole food because, I've been living in Louisiana for 18 years, and it's had such a huge impact on the way that I think about food. And so I happen to have this humongous pot here. I don't know if you can see the size of this pot of steamy, beautiful jambalaya made with all the delicious Cajun sausages and rice and chicken. And there's bell pepper and garlic and onion and lots of good spices. And so I made this big pot because what we're going to do is we're going to give this out to friends and make sure that even when they're under quarantine, that they feel nourished. Here you can see what that looks like in there.
Oh my goodness, look at that. I could just let it waft up, close my eyes and smell it right now.
Yeah, so I think that's the kind of the beautiful thing about food, is that I don't just kind of listen to one genre of music, and I don't just cook one style of food. I really look at food as a sense of place and as a sense of natural resources and mood and weather and seasons, and all of those things work together for us to think about what we're going to cook today.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking this time with us. I know you're really busy and I know you're trying to get things together. Tell our viewers where they can find more about you, because when people visit New Orleans, it's a must-go restaurant. So give us the information.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd like to purchase the Shaya cookbook, that kind of tells my life story and has over 150 really great recipes. And when you come to New Orleans, come visit us at Saba Restaurant or Safta Restaurant in Denver, Colorado. And check out my Instagram, Alon Shaya. I've been putting all kinds of food that I've been cooking and stuff we've been doing for the community, pictures on there. So please tune into that, and that's the best way to stay current.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. You know me as the My Pillow guy, but what you might not know is my story. I've spent years writing my memoir, and it's finally done. Before this terrible pandemic came upon us, I had already wrote I dedicate this book to anyone looking for hope. Well, right now we're all looking for hope. And I've always used mathematics to prove that God exists. In our lives, we've had things happen that are 1 in a million or a 1 in a billion, or we might say that's impossible. Well, when do we say it all has to be a miracle? My life has been like living inside of a movie, and in my book, I have pictures that are gonna validate everything that you're gonna read. I believe that my story is gonna bring inspiration and hope to everyone. By the time you're done reading my book, you will believe that with God, all things are possible.
Mike spent the last 7 years writing his book to share his life story. In this difficult time we are in, Mike's book will bring much needed inspiration and hope to everyone who reads it.
But now the game was over. The house had won. I was gonna die right here on this deserted street, a small item in the news. American tourist goes missing in Mexico.
Call now or visit mypillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds from Crack Addict to CEO. Enter the promo code and you'll receive free shipping. Mike will also include a free $25 MyPillow gift card. Mike shares his incredible story of addiction, divine intervention, and hope. In his new memoir, What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO, learn how Mike's 14 near-death experiences and heavy crack addiction led him from a place of total darkness into the light. Mike's personal stories of transformation remind us that with faith, all things are possible. Call now or visit mypillow.com to purchase What Are the Odds? From Crack Addict to CEO. Enter the promo code and you'll receive free shipping. Mike will also include a free $25 MyPillow gift card.
Welcome back. My very most favorite place in this entire world is Tuscany in Italy. My family's from there, and I vacation there every year, actually for the past decade. And this year we had to cancel our trip. We were planning to go to Tuscany and Lucca and stay in there for 2 weeks. So that's why I am so excited about my next guests, Linda and George Myers of Cook in Tuscany. They help people experience Tuscany and learn the basics of Tuscan cooking while shopping in local markets and walking down ancient cobblestone streets. I think that's a dream come true. It's so great to have you on the show. Now, you're not from Italy, you're from New Orleans, right?
Exactly. We are from New Orleans, and that's where our love of food comes from.
New Orleans is an amazing place. My wife and I actually have a home in Lakeview in New Orleans, and we travel to Italy every year. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I want you to tell us. It's just such a great place. Tell us your fascinating story. What in the world brought you to Tuscany and to set up what you've set up there?
Well, it's interesting because we are from New Orleans, and as you know, our culture revolves around food, much like it does in Italy. And we always tell everybody, when you go to the Grand Canyon, you come back and you tell everybody about that great restaurant you ate at, that great meal you had at, and you go, wait, yeah, we were at the Grand Canyon, but we had this fantastic meal. So everything really does revolve around food for us, and we found with most people it does. So it fit right in with being here in Italy.
Absolutely.
So what's it been like there these past months? I know Italy really got in a lot of trouble with this virus. How have you been managing, and what's it been like?
So we can only tell you what we're experiencing here. I've been here since early February. No one is locked in their homes. We've had no panic. Our grocery stores are full of food, fresh meat, fresh vegetables, toilet paper, all those things. Recently, they have asked us to start wearing masks, so we have to wear a mask when we go in the grocery store. And we do keep our social distancing, but people are still out walking, and children are running, and playing in our olive grove. And so we haven't quite felt the tightness that some other places in Italy have felt.
Well, that's really good to hear. Well, this show is about, I call it quarantine cooking, because as awful as a time as this has been, it's been a time, I think, to reconnect with the basics. And for me, eating healthy food is basics. So sell me on why Tuscan cooking is the healthiest cooking on the planet, and what's so healthy about the cuisine that you prepare and that you present to people?
Well, I'll tell you, the biggest thing here is that we are all about tasting your food. Mm-hmm. We don't drown anything. We don't add 20 things to a meal. people will say, well, how do I know what I'm getting? Can you cook around this? Go, well, there's only 4 or 5 ingredients in it, you know. And so, but I would tell you, I'm an expert on eating. Linda's the one you should talk to about cooking.
You know, Italian cooking or Tuscan cooking really dates back to, you know, Etruscan and Roman. So they used what was available in the season that it was available, and everything was about simplicity. So it, like, for example, if you're having ravioli, it's just going to have 1 or 2 ingredients in it. Our pasta is flour, olive oil, and water. That's it. So it's all natural, it's all in season, and it's definitely about the flavors. You want the good flavors, and you don't want a lot of extra stuff in there.
Amazing. So what all do you guys have to show us today? What are you guys making?
So we had a couple of things just prepared. So we love making our charcuterie cones so people can walk around with them. And I always think you should add something homemade to anything that you're doing. So I made some delicious black olive and Parmesan cookies that I added to my cones with meats and cheeses and olives that all come from farms right here around our hotel. And then, of course, we have George's favorite.
Yes.
Which is the zucchini blossoms. And we've made them 2 ways, deep fried, and then we've made them stuffed with fresh ricotta, which is another thing we get right here, just right down the road, and we bake them. So we have them 2 ways. And then we have our fresh ravioli that George put together this morning.
I could tell you, this is amazing. I'm coming to visit you the next time I come to Italy. Where can our viewers learn more about cooking in Tuscany?
You can come to our website at www.cookintuscany.com. And we also have a hotel and restaurant here, so you'll find us off of that too, La Chiusa. So please come out here in Tuscany. Italy's open. We are going to have a great couple of years.
Yes.
Everyone's healthy here in Tuscany, and we can't wait to see you guys.
Oh, we're on our way, George and Linda.
We're on our way.
Yeah, I'm waiting on you.
Yes. We're waiting
Thank you so much for being on the show. I want you to be safe, be healthy, and keep on cooking.
You bet. Thanks.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao. Our food choices are so important for our health and our well-being. If this virus has taught us anything, it's that people are at a big disadvantage when they don't eat properly. Diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and obesity are often directly related to dietary choices. There are so many diets that promote health. Whether they're vegetarian, pescatarian, paleo, keto, they all depend on the right combination of foods that prevent excess sugar load or excess combined fat and carbohydrate. On top of that, ingredients are so important. Organically grown, non-GMO fruits and vegetables, fish that are free of heavy metals, that are free of industrial pollutants or medicines and antibiotics that come from poor fish farming methods, beef, pork, poultry that are free of hormones and antibiotics. The saying is, you are what you eat. But what's really true is you are what the food you are eating has eaten before that. So during this time of eating at home without restaurants, learn to cook. Learn to cook with the best quality ingredients like olive oils instead of processed oils, like organic vegetables and meats. Learn to cook healthy, eat healthy, and you'll be well on your way to finding the good life.